Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. Most of you will be aware that we are scrutinising initially a book that has been released recently, even during an ongoing appeal and an ongoing court case. This book was released onto the shelves here in Ireland in respect of the investigation and the trial into the murder and robbery at Lordship Credit Union, where Detective Adrian Donoghue was brutally murdered. The book was written by the now retired Pat Marry, the detective, and he's ably assisted by mainstream journalist Robin Schiller. And we have mentioned this before. We think this is reprehensible because a mainstream journalist, in his prime, as this man allegedly is, should be there to critique on Garda Síochána, the judicial system, and those members of the Dole and those people running our country. And yet here we have two men in bed together writing a book full of lies, and we know Schiller knows about the lies, and we know he knows about the criminals who made statement against Aaron, but he continued for the sake of a few pounds to make this book with Pat Marry. And in this video we're going to have a quick look at this man here, Christopher Morton, whom Pat Marry and Schiller tell us in the book, and indeed another podcast which we're going to have a quick look at, but they tell us that this man was central and to the whole investigation. Indeed, if we look at chapter 11 here, it's called The Breakthrough. This is from the book How to Make Money from Your Murdered Friend and Colleague. So chapter 11 is predominantly about this man here, Christopher Morton, whom it appears is a good friend of Sinn Fein councillor Anton Waters. So what we want to do is look at that. We have said from the outset that the book itself should never have been allowed, the timing of it, the Irish judicial system, and indeed the Irish authorities and Garda Síochána, the Ombudsman, Drew Harris, all these people should not have allowed this book to be released at the time it was released. But we see it as a blatant attempt to blacken the campaign, blacken Aaron's name further, and try and create a storm that simply does not exist and create a false narrative. And again, we have called Pat Marry out and Schiller out for trying to make money from the death of a murdered guard. It is quite simple, and it is as simple as that. And we are not the only ones that think that. And if we just listen to Marry here on a podcast, I think he does this. This podcast has been released, Tricia, in association with Alan and Unwin, the book company, the publishers of this book. There's a podcast, and this is what Marry had to say on the podcast. Have a quick listen.
So that's where we're at. The only negative feedback I got was from guards, through a guard who was telling me, that's Pat Marry making money on an ex-member and this, that and the other. You don't make money on writing the book, and you should know that, Trina. And as I said before, this was a story that needed to be told. It needed to be.
So members of Garda Síochána are also concerned that Pat Marry is making money from the murder of a member of Garda Síochána. And I think those guards are probably right, because it's absolutely disgusting what these two men are at. And Pat Marry says he's not making any money from it. Well, obviously, if he doesn't want to make any money from it, anything that is made by him and Schiller should be given to the respective charities. I think would be a decent move. He says, Marry tells us that nobody makes money from writing books. The man's a complete fool and a complete imbecile, and he's trying to cover his tracks because he knows we have rebranded his book. And it is disgusting what these two men are at. So let's get on to Christopher Morton and how he is betrayed by Pat Marry. And we have created we've created 18 videos in respect of Morton and those who told lies to protect their own lives in America and stop themselves from being deported back into a country where possibly their lives are in danger because of their activities prior to them leaving Ireland. So first one we're going to have a little listen to is Pat Marry created a podcast called Making the Detective. This was created in May 23. In and around that, there's 3 episodes. And Making the Detective, it's 4 episodes, 9, 10, 11 and 12, I think, are related to the modern robbery at Lordship Credit Union. And I have invited people to go and listen to those podcasts and raise any queries or questions. We have critiqued those podcasts and tore them to absolute shreds. Now, it's done in association with The Sun and I can't think of his name. Stephen Breen is the main editor, another mainstream journalist who is fully aware that Pat Marry has told a tissue of lies and the book is nonsense and the podcast is nonsense. So we go ahead, listen to this short little excerpt from the Making of a Detective, and we'll have a look and listen to what Pat Marry says.
15th of that month, whatever it was, 15th of September, October, whatever it was, he says, I'll meet you in New York.
They arranged to meet on 10th and 24th Street in Chelsea Village, a busy, upmarket part of Manhattan.
And he says, I'll meet you at the corner there at such a time. And I said, fair enough. And I was delighted with that. I said, I thought I had this person, I knew who he was, and I had him well vetted and checked out. You always have a fear that you're being set up, that they have a plant in there to tell you lies or to put you off the investigation or to, But I had this person well checked out, and I was quite happy with his bona fides and that he was who he was. And he told me the truth, and he was legitimate in New York, and he wasn't a person looking for anything from the guards or looking for anything from Homeland Security or anything of that nature, that there'd be no compromise in any way.
Pat asked him to relay what had happened on the night he spoke to Brady.
He was disgusted.
There we go. So we have a very precise details from Marry. How he got in contact with Morton. Morton got in contact allegedly with Anton Waters, and Anton Waters passed him on, as he should do. Anton Waters should have passed the information on to members of An Garda Síochána. Now, as we go through the book, I'm going to go through this in a bit more detail in the book. I don't want to be repeating myself, but obviously, for some reason, Pat Marry and Christopher Morton thought they were going to have the clear it with Sinn Fein at the highest level, that he was allowed to make a statement. And obviously, Pat Marry saw clearance and got clearance. But the most important part of this here, apart from the politics that's around Sinn Fein and their involvement in this murder and robbery at Lordship Credit Union, we have the situation where Pat Marry has told us that he checked out the bona fides and how did he put it? He had them checked out and well vetted. In fact, just listen very quickly to that again.
I was delighted with that. I said, I thought I had this person, I knew who he was, and I had him well vetted and checked out. You always have a fear that you're being set up, that they have a plant in there to tell you lies or to put you off the investigation or to, But I had this person well checked out, and I was quite happy with his bona fides and that he was who he was.
So there we go. Vetted, checked out, and he was happy with the bona fides of this man. Now, the reason why Marry has told lies here, because as we have highlighted in the 18 other videos we've created in respect of those people who told lies, and these are all predominantly about Morton and his association with his first cousin, who made a statement and then withdrew it because he was put under duress by the guards to make the statement. So Morton made the statement, and we've created these 18 videos in respect of Morton's statement. The links to all 18 videos are just below this video here now. And you can watch any or all of those videos and you will see quite clearly what we have said from the outset is true. And if Pat Marry and Robin Schiller were that interested and that excited and that happy with the man who caused the breakthrough, and whom they say is Christopher Morton, caused the breakthrough in this whole case, and yet they won't stand up and call the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign to account, that we're saying something that is incorrect, something that is false, something that is derogatory, something that is wrong about Christopher Morton. Because the reason they can't do that is because everything we say about Morton is 100% correct. Excuse me. He's a liar, he's a cheat, he's a criminal, he's an illegal immigrant, and again, don't like using too derogatory terms, but we have no other option, only call this man a scumbag. And that is how we feel about Christopher Morton. And if Christopher Morton, Marry or Schiller or any of the mainstream media want to stand up for this upstanding citizen who done the right thing, come ahead, please, and let's discuss it. And as we have said from the outset, if anything Christopher Morton said, if anything Daniel Cahill said, if anything Anthony Maguire said, if anything Ronan said was correct, we would have no problem with that, and we would have to accept that these people and the likes of this man here, Christopher Morton, were doing the right thing. But we have shown quite clearly they are liars and self-serving narcissists who would do anything to save their own skins. So what we're going to do is just going to run through few bits, a couple of paragraphs from, I think, about 8 or 10 pages. We're just going to pick them out, and I will show quite clearly, and we can point it towards the videos that have proven what's in this book is complete load of lies, nonsense, balderdash, bullshit. So this on page 157, I'll just bring it up here on the screen. On the day Anton Waters' news articles was shared, he decided that someone finally had to speak out about the murder, typing up a message to the counsellor and pressing send. On the other side of the Atlantic, Anton Waters opened the unexpected mail from his former schoolmate, carefully reading the lengthy text. So obviously that was the initial start. So we're going through this chronologically. This was the first interaction Morton had with Sinn Fein councillor Anton Waters. And we're trying to say here that, with Anton Waters, right. And as we follow on through the story, you will be able to see how this is a tissue of lies. So we move on now to page 158. And you can see in the middle of the page there, I could not trust any of them. Now, he's actually, I'll just go a line above that. With the carry-on of senior management in the early days and the leaking of information in newspaper reports, I could not trust any of them. I spoke with Anton Waters. He was very upfront, stating that Christopher Morton wanted someone from the investigation team to contact him. So the reason why I want to show this here is that Pat Marry and Anton Waters were in contact with each other. And obviously, if Anton Waters got this email from someone he knew either as a friend or knew through school, as Morton says, as Morton allegedly told Pat Marry, it would be obligatory for Christopher Morton to check this source out and to give Pat Marry any information or details he may have on this person who is coming forward to give testimony or give a statement against someone. So we move now to page 159, I'll put it up on the screen. And just at the bottom of the first paragraph, I got to know a good many personal details about Christopher, and we spoke openly about life in general. I found him to be a decent bloke with a sense of duty that I appeal to. So Marry was having intimate chats with Christopher Morton. He should have been able to ascertain details that he got from Anton Waters, the Sinn Fein councillor Anton Waters, and seen if the information married with what Christopher was telling him about how Christopher went to America, what Christopher was doing before he went to America. I'm sure Pat Marry, first question, had to ask Christopher Morton, Christopher, had you any dealings with PSNA on Garda Síochána or anything of that nature during your time in Ireland before you moved to America? And that would have been the end of Christopher Morton as a witness and giving statements. We move to page 160. There's a couple of, you can see there, I have them marked. We had a lengthy call and he told me that he had difficulty because he was a member of Sinn Fein and, as far as he was aware, he could not make a statement to the Gardaí without their approval. Now, we heard this in the making of a detective clip that we played just at the beginning of this video. And again, we have to ask the question, is there a situation where Sinn Fein dictate who gives or does not give statements in murder investigations? So there's some ambiguity either with Christopher, who's allegedly a member of Sinn Fein, and Pat Marry, who's a senior member of Garda Síochána, and there seems to be some uncertainty as to whether they have to get Gerry Adams, Mary Lou McDonald, or Anton Waters' permission to give a statement in a murder trial. So there should be red flags and bells ringing, alarm bells ringing all over the place here. The man is a complete fool, Pat Marry. To actually write this down and say that was the situation he was dealing with, and to tell the public, if this is true, it's complete and utter nonsense. Just move on down. Christopher had decided to go with the advice of a second person, and if he could get confirmation that the party was okay with it, he wanted it to make a statement. So we're waiting for clarification from Sinn Fein to see if a man can give a witness statement in the murder of a member of Garda Síochána. That is the absurdity of this whole investigation. The next hurdle was to deal with the idea that Sinn Fein would for some reason prevent him from giving a statement. Detective Inspector Marry made contact with a sitting Sinn Fein TD and arranged a meeting during which he explained his predicament to the politician and who didn't believe this would be a problem. So there's a Sinn Fein TD involved here. Now the TD must have checked out Christopher Morton's bona fides, as Pat Marry said in the... So this is another senior member of Sinn Fein who is dealing with Christopher Morton and checking it. And a simple phone call to Newry would have ironed out all this information. 2 weeks passed before the TD. So the TD had 2 weeks, a full 2 weeks to check out the details. Made contact with me again. He informed me that Christopher Morton was one. They informed me that Christopher Morton was one of them, and that word had been relayed to him to go ahead. So Sinn Fein contacted Christopher Morton. So Sinn Fein are responsible in some way for Christopher Morton telling a tissue of lies in a statement against our son Aaron. Pat Marry has written it here in black and white, and his friend SCHILLER has helped him pen it. Robin SCHILLER did no investigation here whatsoever, that the guards are seeking confirmation from Sinn Fein TDs to see if people from the general public are allowed to give witness statements in murder investigations. This Sinn Fein TD told me that from the top, if Sinn Fein could do anything whatsoever to assist in bringing the killers of Adrian Donagh to justice, they would. So again, we move now from the TD to the Sinn Fein TD told me that from the top, so talking, I presume about Mary Lou, if Sinn Fein could do anything whatsoever to assist in bringing the killers of Adrian Donagh to justice, they would. So here we've moved from Councillor Anton Waters to a Sinn Fein TD whom we don't know at the moment, but obviously Sinn Fein will have to give that information to the public, I would assume, and there would be some sort of stock take done on their investigations into their member, one of their members, Christopher Morton, whom we say is a liar. Sinn Fein, if this man whom you want to adopt as a member was a member at that time, something we have to clarify. It's difficult just to get that information, but we will hopefully drill to the bottom of it. Your member is a downright liar, an absolutely scumbag who told lies to save himself, and a man who stole from Shin Fein business, a Republican business in South Armagh Down in Newry. People with balaclavas called to Mr. Morton, took the money back of him, give him a slap and told him to get out of Ireland. I am certain there are members of Sinn Fein in the Newry district who would be able to give some details possibly on what happened there. And also we know, and we have the paperwork, that Christopher Morton was involved in the Committee for Restorative Justice, a committee which is predominantly run by Sinn Fein. So Sinn Fein are sending criminals and thieves and illegal immigrants to give witness statements in murder cases. We're just going to move on to page 164. And this is when Morton had come in to see, to give the statement in the Homeland Security offices in New York. So again, his statement was taken in New York, as you will see, by Marry, Detective Ogle, and indeed Homeland Security agent Matt Katsky was there videoing. The room had been set up by Homeland Security agent, special agents Katsky and Mary Ann Wade, who were facilitating the Gardaí in any possible way to gather the crucial statement. So there we go again. It's a crucial statement. And Matt Katsky, again, so Katsky and Wade, the two Homeland Security officers, were involved in dealing with this man, Morton, so they must have checked out his bona fides. The American authorities will have checked out Christopher Morton. Christopher Morton had given his first cousin's name to Pat Marry. His first cousin was Anthony Maguire. And that would have been checked out by Homeland Security agents Wade and Katsky. And as we know, and as you will see in the 18 videos below, Maguire had absconded Ireland, left his girlfriend, his partner and his children behind him because he was caught with £30,000 worth of cash, £30,000 worth of coke, cocaine, marijuana and ammunition. And Katsky and Wade most certainly were facilitating the Irish Guards in protecting criminals. We move on. In the early hours of the morning, the wedding in 2013, again, SCHILLER, Marry, that's all wrong. It's the wrong year. And I think Mark Phillips and Jim McGovern had to continually go back to Morton for him to get the right year and then get the right month for the wedding. The whole thing was a complete shit show. And we have all the statements from Morton, and you can see how Mark Phillips leads him into changing the date for the wedding. The same as Mark Phillips got Ronan Flynn to change that the fact that he knew something about a car being burned out down near Newtown, Hamilton. So Mark Phillips was at his tricks once again. So the next bit, now this is the entirety of this LIAR's statement. And Pat Marry and this clown SCHILLER actually have the audacity to put this into a book and want the Irish people to believe that this man, this is the breakthrough, this is the golden nugget, this is the piece of the jigsaw, and this is the statement this LIAR came out with. I went up to the bar to get a drink after I got there. Wee bit of context. So this is the Tombstone bar where this LIAR allegedly met Aaron. He was drinking all day Friday at a wedding. He went and played golf on Saturday, was back in Moriarty sometime around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, drank for at least 12 hours, maybe more. And then I went up to the bar to get a drink after I got there. So again, if you go by your statements, it's either 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Those 4 different times are actually in a statement. This eureka moment for this man, Morton. I went up to the bar to get a drink after I got there. There was a fella sitting next to a girl. I asked him who he was. He gave the name Brady. I said I was Chris. I had heard stories of who was accused of shooting the Garda, and Aaron Brady was the name mentioned. I had heard the name previously in different circles, but I didn't know him. I asked him straight out, are you the lad that's on the run for shooting the Garda? And he said, this is the eureka moment. Yeah, that's me. I am the one who shot him. And I'm just going to put in a little bit there. Even though the man who shot Adrian Donoghue was 6'1" or 2, I'm only 5'7". But yeah, that's me. I'm the one who shot him. He spoke with a normal demeanour and kind of scoffed it out. He didn't go into any detail. No details. I laughed for a second. He didn't laugh back. I then felt uneasy. I was getting drinks and I bought him a Jameson. I joined my own company. I felt uneasy. We talked a bit about construction, and I moved on to my company. So Pat Marry was going to bring this laying tow rag into a court to convict Aaron Brady on an encounter after 12, possibly 24 hours drinking in the previous 48 hours in a darkly lit bar. And anyone who knows the Tombstone Bar in Catone Avenue or off Catone Avenue, a dingy, dark lit place, and obviously it was the late bar. This is 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and Pat Marry was going to bring this lad to court to ask or to be asked questions about his interaction with Aaron Brady. But this gets even worse. It gets even worse. Just on the same page, on page 165 here again, I had originally heard Aaron Brady's name from the people in Woodlow in the Bronx, and when this fella gave me his surname, I then asked a question of him. Having taken the statement, the detectives then undertook an identification process. Now, I cannot believe Marry actually put this in the book. I cannot believe a senior journalist would actually sit down, take this notes and write this in without asking Pat Marry, Mr. Marry, is that not illegal what you and Bobby Ogle done? Wait till you hear this. This is amazing. After having taken the statement, the detective then undertook an identification process. Showing the witness a mugshot of Aaron Brady to confirm it was the same individual he had spoken to. After looking at the image, he said, I recognise the person in the photograph as Aaron Brady, the same Aaron Brady who, when asked by me, was he the lad on the run for shooting the Garda, he said, yeah, that's me, I am the one that shot him. Mr. Morton would also later clarify that the omission in the bar happened after a wedding of a couple from Crossmaglen. Whole lot of information in here. There is no way it is ethically right, morally right, professionally right to undertake an identification process with one picture. And that is the predominant reason why Morton's statement was not allowed into Aaron's trial. Because Bobby Ogle, Matt Katsky, and this clown here, Pat Marry, who talks about his detective skills and his exemplary police work, it's an absolute disgrace and disgusting what he done. Absolutely disgusting. And that's why one of the main reasons why Morton didn't come to give evidence during the course of Aaron's trial. But the reason he didn't come is because he's a coward. And when he seen how his friend Daniel Cahill was cross-examined, he sent a text message to Mark Phillips and pulled out. That's what happened. That's why Christopher Morton didn't come to give evidence. Because he would have been torn to absolute shreds. And of course, it says here, at the last bit, Mr. Morton would also later clarify that the omission at the bar happened after a wedding of a couple from Crossmaglen at the hotel in Orange County. Now, the reason we know 1,000,000% Morton is telling a tissue of lies here. Aaron could not have been in the bar that night in the Tombstone because Aaron's sister was in the bar that night in the Tombstone. And she was there with a number of people from the wedding from Crossmaglen. And those people can confirm nobody seen Aaron in the bar that night because he wasn't in it. The first that anyone from the wedding party seen of Aaron was the following morning in Moriarty's on McLean Avenue around 9 or 10 a.m. because the replay of the All-Ireland hurling final was on. So, Christopher Morton, you are a liar. Pat Marry, you are a liar. Robin Schiller, you are a purveyor and writer of lies, which you know to be totally false. You know the statements in this book are false. And yet for a few euro, you're willing to do this. It's sad, really. And just the last line, we go to page 166, the top of the last paragraph there. The trip was the making of the case against Aaron Brady. So that is the making of the case against Aaron Brady. And this is what we have had to stomach and listen to and read over the last probably 8 to 10 weeks. And to confound this and to show that Marry is prepared to continue to perpetuate this story, we're just going to listen to Marry on Jerry Kelly, LMFM. It's just a 2-minute clip. We listen to that and then we can see that the continuity continues through the making of a detective from May 2023 up until the book is printed, and then as Marry and Schiller go on their merry way creating the promotions for the book. So just going to have a quick listen to Marry with Jerry Kelly on LMFM.
Murder of one of their own. That's the way they looked at it.
You are a world community.
That's it. It is.
Policemen and women.
Yeah. And if you haven't been a policeman, you know how to think. You know how. Do you know what I mean? You know, I'd say you know the crack. That's it. But the Homeland Security were so professional, so good. I couldn't talk highly enough of them.
Brady's in the States. He's gone to ground over there. Well, he's not gone to ground. He's out and about over there. He's living a life as such. And with drink on him one night, he talks. How does that then become? How do you get somebody to corroborate what he said to bring a conviction?
Well, look,
I know it's a long story, but if you can...
I tell you, we had a guy called Christopher Morton who contacted a Sinn Fein councillor here in Carlingford, who he's friends with on Facebook, and he said, I was at a wedding one night, and after the wedding, and Aaron Brady was there, and I went up to him and says, how are you doing? And Brady says, I'm the one, I shot the guard, and the man was disgusted and said, all right, and it was on his mind ever since, but he told the councillor, and the councillor relayed that to me and said that he would talk to the guards. Now, I rang the man in America. He said he couldn't talk to the guard. He couldn't make a statement because he was a member of Shin Fein and he thought he was precluded from making a statement. I told him I didn't think that was the case, but look, I will check it out for you. I went to a Sinn Fein TD, sitting TD, and someone I thought I could trust, made that connection with them and told them my predicament, and they said, well, look at what's the man's name and that, and I told them, and they said, look, leave it with us and we'll come back to you within 2 weeks. And I said, that's fine. I trusted the person, and that was it. They came back to me within 2 weeks and said, yeah, we had a chat with that. He is one of ours, and we have word has got to him that he should cooperate with the guards, that there is no problem, and that Sinn Fein would do anything they could to help in solving the crime if they could. Oh, I said, that's grand, I'll leave that door open. I said, but thanks very much for that for the time being. And that was it. I contacted a man in America. He said, yeah, I've got the okay, and I've ran it by a few people. Some of them told me, no, I have nothing to do with the guards, keep your mouth shut. And he said, the man I really respect told me to stand on my 2 feet and be a man and do the right thing. And he says, that's what I'm going to do, the right thing. I will make a statement to you. And
So there we go, folks. We have the continuity right through, as I've said. He's talking to Jerry Kelly there. Now, it's very important to know we have sent details to LMFM, and we've put this up on Twitter and Facebook, the letter we sent to LMFM in respect of other lies and information that Pat Marry told during the course of this podcast. Lies and information that is quite clearly and is accessible to the public. And someone like LMFM, indeed, SCHILLER, it should have known this, and I could have checked it out very, very easily, that the information going into the book was lies. It was totally false. But this, in respect of Christopher Morton, again, it shows that Sinn Fein were instrumental in allowing a criminal to give false statements in a capital murder trial. Because the information Morton gave in his statement about his relationship with Anton Waters, we say, is lies. He fluffed it up. He fluffed up little bits of information, and we've checked it out with the relevant governing bodies of sporting organisations and what have you, and it's all lies that Morton told to create a friendship with Anton Waters. Sinn Fein councillor Anton Waters. We know from that last clip, we know from the book, we know from Making the Detective podcast, that at the highest level of Sinn Fein were aware of it. Now, I did doorstep both of these people, Mary Lou McDonald and Anton Waters. I went to Anton Waters' place of work. Unfortunately, I had to go because I had sent him numerous emails and communications via Facebook and what have you, and he never responded. I called him to his place of work, and he said he would meet me the following day, and then he sent me a message, please do not, I'm not going to meet you, and please never contact me again. So can anyone imagine if someone, a gutless person like Anton Waters, was the first point of call for those who fought for the Guildford 4 and the Birmingham 6? Imagine if it was someone with the morals and the mentality of Anton Waters who's the first point of call. Those campaigns might very well never have happened. Now, as I said, we've made the 18 videos that are below. Waters and Mary Lou McDonald is fully aware of all those. They have to be. I doorstepped Mary Lou McDonald in Enniskeane. Herself and Matt Carty were going around the country speaking in town halls and public speaking, answering questions and putting out their vision for the future. I give her a full booklet, fully detailing the interactions of Sinn Fein with Pat Marry, Pat Marry's interaction with Christopher Morton. I explained quite clearly in the booklet with all the information how we knew Christopher Morton was a liar, how Christopher Morton was chased out of his own home by Republicans, and how his cousin was also a drug dealer, and how his cousin Anthony Maguire was also coerced into making a false statement against Aaron. But at least Anthony Maguire had the foresight and the gumption to go to a lawyer in America, send a letter to An Garda Síochána the Irish state, and in particular Mark Phillips, Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips, that he didn't want to have anything more to do with the Aaron Brady case, that he was put under severe duress by the authorities to make a statement. So we rest our case with Chapter 11. We have much more to go through. We have contacted LMFM and Media House, media company who own Robin Schiller, and we're letting them know that there are serious doubts that a man with investigative journalist credentials would allow this to happen. Blatant lies, mistruths, misinformation, and a false narrative to be portrayed. So we will say once again, for all you, for Mary Lou McDonald, Anton Waters, whoever else is in Sinn Fein, your member is a liar. He told lies and was instrumental, and we believe he may very well have been the one who pushed Daniel Cahill, because he does say in his message to Mark Phillips, my friend Dan. And we do know from looking at the social media pages that they do know each other. So your member is a liar and is willing to falsify statements in a murder case to save his own skin. So Sinn Fein is an issue with that. Please come and discuss it. Pat Marry, this man you say that got the breakthrough in your book, is a liar. He's a scumbag. And you put him on a pedestal, and we are knocking him off his pedestal. Pat Marry, your legal team, come forward and discuss what pedestal Morton should be on. Robin Schiller, you and Owen Reynolds and all the other journalists are fully aware of Christopher Morton's activities in and around Newry before he was chased out of Ireland. You are fully aware of his dodgy immigration status. And you are now fully aware of the details of his story, that they are impossible. Aaron Brady was not in the tombstone the night Christopher Morton said he was. He was not there. So that's another piece of this, I don't know what to call it. It's Chapter 11. There's a lot more to go through. But it's something, there's details we have to find out in respect of IRA or Sinn Fein membership for Christopher Morton. And we'll look into all those things in the very near future as we speak. So thank you once again. We will be continuing to look at the book, How to Make Money from Your Murdered Friend and Colleague. And just to prove that this man is not wise. The man is just not wise. If he was made of chocolate, he would eat himself. This is just another little clip of Pat Marry speaking to, I believe it's a podcast, Tricia, who is working for Alan and Unwin, the books, Atlantic Books, and he's doing a podcast with them. And this is what Pat Marry says. Just listen to this.
I think as time passes on, it will be a book that captures that and everything that went with it. And God forbid if there's another murder of a guard where there's very little evidence from the early stages, that whoever's going to investigate it might pick up some of the tips and hints from the book.
So there you have it. Pat Marry believes that if and when another member of An Garda Síochána is shot in Ireland or murdered in Ireland, and there's not much evidence, there's your manual. The man, I've said it before, he is not mentally stable. There is something seriously wrong with the man. So this is now, it's a book he had to take out. He's not making any money out of it. He doesn't want to make any money out of it. And the reason is, this is now a handbook and manual for how to solve the murder of a member of An Garda Síochána. I rest my case. So that's where we are. As I say, we have much more to go through, and we'll see us all in the next video. Thank you very much. Please like, comment and share. These people are censoring us viciously. And we do please need you to like, comment and share on all our videos. Thank you so much. See you all in the next video. Thank you.